What?
Got to call to order a regular meeting of the Board of Education of the Goshen Central School District for today, Wednesday, September 8th, 2021. Today's meeting is in the District Administration Building and live streamed through YouTube. Next on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of meditation. Please keep Linda Hughes, sister of Arlene Pettit, the secretary at C.J. Hooker, in your thoughts. And also, we're only a few days away from the 9/11 anniversary, so let's please remember all those that we lost on 9/11.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda is tenure appointment. I'll turn it to Dr. Cook.
Thank you, Mr. Kuching. It's my honor to welcome Mrs. Heather Hendershot, our Director of Pupil Personnel Services, to our annual board meeting tonight, where we will be introducing her for possibility of tenure to be placed before the Board of Education. Every year when we have an opportunity to introduce teachers and administrators for recommendation to tenure to the Board of Education, it gives us an opportunity to reflect on the accomplishments of that individual before they are to go to vote to the Board of Education. While my time with Mrs. Hendershot has been short as a colleague and a supervisor, I've been impressed with what she has brought to the district. Various programs including Handwriting Without Tears, System 44, Read 180, and a Healthy Relationships curriculum certainly help us to get a small taste of many of the things that she has reflected on and brought to the district. Beyond her role just as the director of PPS, she also serves as our McKinney-Vento liaison, which is our liaison for homeless students, our coordinator of our ELL program throughout the district as well. These responsibilities require attention to detail, knowledge of the law, and keen organizational skills, which I believe that we all could agree who have had the opportunity to work with her that she brings to the table on a regular basis. Beyond that, I find her approachable demeanor. I find her relationship with our families and relationship with staff members certainly to be a great asset to the district. It's my great pleasure again to welcome her here tonight, her mother and father, Ed and Carol, for this great occasion and for us to be able to move forward and recommend to the Board of Education their consideration for approval for tenure. I'll ask Mrs. Heather Hendershot to join us here in the front for the official board vote. Mr. Pucci, without further ado, it's my pleasure to recommend Mrs. Heather Hendershot for consideration for tenure to the Board of Education.
Thank you, Dr. Coates. I need a motion for appointment of tenure. Jeremy? Billy? Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education approves the tenure appointment of Heather Hendershot in the tenure area of Director of Pupil Personnel Services, effective September 8, 2021. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations. Next on the agenda is Treasurer's Report. The Board of Education acknowledges the Treasurer's Report for May 2021. Next on the agenda is Privilege of the Floor. Just read this briefly. I think everybody has a copy of this who came in for the viewing audience. Persons wishing to speak should first be recognized by the President, then identify themselves. Any group of organization wishing to address the board must identify a single spokesperson. Comments shall be brief and concise, generally not exceeding 2 minutes, which Vice President Salty will keep track of. in length per speaker, which may be extended at the discretion of the board president. Speakers may comment on matters related to district business only. The board will not permit in public session discussions involving individual district personnel or students. Persons wishing to discuss matters involving individual district personnel or students should present their comments or concerns to the superintendent during regular business hours. All speakers are to conduct themselves in a civil manner. Obscene language, libel statements, threats of violence, statements of advocating racial, religious, or other forms of prejudice will not be tolerated. Diane Kovac.
That would be me. Thank you. First and foremost, I hope everyone's families are remaining healthy. This letter is being written in regards to the unacceptable transportation schedule that was just set for our son attending the Goshen school in the district. To have the transportation department verbally communicate our child's bus route schedule the day before the start of school is simply unacceptable. Where was the Board of Education's involvement with the transportation schedule for the Goshen school children? To be told the pickup time is at 7 a.m. with arrival to Burke 40 to 45 minutes later is illogical. From our home to Burke, it is 1.1 mile. Please do not misunderstand me, and we do not expect door-to-door service. We expect a reasonable amount of time for transportation, and being told to be 40 to 45 minutes to get to and from school is not reasonable. I was told by the department that there is a lack of drivers, and they can't please everyone with the time set. I then questioned the department's thinking that, is it acceptable for your child or any child to be sitting on a bus for 40 to 45 minutes one way to school when the school is right into the center of town? To me, that is absolutely ridiculous. Do they not realize that that is a total of 90 minutes, almost 2 hours of traveling time each day? That is absurd when the school is right in our own town. That could be time better spent with family and or studying. It is understood that there are many factors involved. However, the setting of the school schedule should be different from no years past. We are fully aware, all of us, of the changes that the pandemic has had on schools, employment, and everyday life. So why was there not better planning and thought given with this process, especially already knowing all of the factors, and certainly not waiting until the last minute to complete the schedule? We as taxpayers deserve a better answer other than we don't have the drivers. That fact was already known. If this is the case, the district should look to hire a company to transport the children within reasonable time until the district finds drivers of their own. Our children should not bear this problem. Utilize alternative means for a better solution. Is that not what our taxpayer dollars are for? Please provide us with a better answer and a better solution for all the children and their families. We followed, may I continue please?
Yes.
Thank you, I appreciate that. We followed the protocol for transportation and followed up with emails and phone calls asking repeatedly when the schedule will be sent, each time being told it is being worked on. Again, to be told the day before the start of school for Burke at September 8th is just unacceptable, and I'm sure for other parents starting at school it would be as well. Also, Burke Catholic had their orientation on Friday, for which I was there to pick my son up. There was 10 buses lined up there. Not one was from Goshen. I was ashamed. I mean, that's absurd. It's just another example of a lack of accountability and consideration, I believe, by the board that bestows Goshen families who pay good money for the school taxes in our district. This solidified our decision as to why we need to forego the Central School District of Goshen's education and pay for our son's education. Need I remind the board that we had our past experience with the Goshen Central School Board and a situation that had happened with one of the staff members from the high school in the C.J. Hooker Middle School in the beginning of 2020. Instead of being reprimanded, that staff member was rewarded. The entire situation was poorly handled with total lack of accountability on part of the Board of Education at that time. And most important, the situation was never resolved. Not one board member reached out to our family. This disregard for our family left us no choice but to forego the provided education in our district and seek alternative education in a safe environment. Our family deserved closure, and the Board of Education failed to provide that to us. We welcome that conversation to be rekindled to provide closure as it should have had. The school board's inadequacy and the reason why we are now paying for school taxes and our son's education in this fine town of Goshen. We as taxpayers have always supported the school district and its budget. Going forward, we will think harder and demand better from our Board of Education. We elect the positions to be held to do right for our children and our families in Goshen. Not to have a school board look the other way and sweep things under the rug, hoping just problems go away. People should not be afraid to voice their opinions and share their feelings, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent, or fear for retribution with their family, and most important, their child. Fear should not interfere with the attendance of school board meetings, and I believe in Goshen it does, and that is a shame. I really wish that I can get an answer from the board as to why this transportation was not handled better and not put forth with more logic of, let's get these kids more friendly to school. Not being told that my son's going to be on the bus for 45 minutes each way. That's absurd. I'm sorry. I thank you all for listening to me, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Stephanie Cicero?
I don't have a whole speech like this. My name is Stephanie Cicero.
Sorry.
I said I don't have a whole speech like she does, but I'm just here for my daughter and for my other two children. A lot of you know I have a daughter, Isabel Cicero, and she has she's a cystic fibrosis carrier. So she isn't out of school a lot. She's on the 504 plan. She sees a pulmonologist. But every year she struggles. She's in and out of school, like 60 days of school. She misses. Hard for her to get back and forth, and it's always long related, on a lot of medicine. So I definitely worry for her. Me and my husband, we have not made a decision yet on this vaccine for them. I just hear a lot of bad things, even from doctors, and I'm just not ready right now. Not saying that I won't next year, but this year I just want to give a little time. So for now, I am fighting for the right for a remote option for my other two children. I don't feel that if Isabel's home, to send my other two, it defeats the whole purpose. My other two are scared. They have anxiety. The second day of school, they were hysterical crying. They don't want to come to school. They're afraid that they're going to get COVID to their sister and she's going to die. I feel like there are so many good things for remote. It's constant learning for the kid instead of homeschool or this COVID where they're back and forth, at least remote. They stay, they're consistently learning. I mean, homeschool, it's not a real option for us. Stay-at-home parents, yeah, but parents that have to work. I have 3 kids that I need to support. I can't homeschool 3 kids that are in 3 different grades. It's not possible. We're not certified teachers. I don't know Common Core. My kids can't socialize, at least if they're remote. They see other kids on the computer. They're still able to talk to people. You know, you guys are giving out laptops already, knowing that COVID's gonna come, preparing us all. So I don't know why my kids can't have that option right now. I've had them home for the last 4 days of school, and I'm not sending them. I'm not sending my kids. So as of right now, my kids are not being educated, and I'm paying taxes for here. And I just don't think it's fair that there's parents that have the option to send their kids 5 days a week like they want, and I'm getting nasty comments from parents saying, well, then you know what, don't send your kid to school because I want to send mine with no masks. That's fine, but I don't have that option, or I would take that option. I would definitely take it. And if I had that option, there would be so many less kids in that school where you'd have that social distancing to keep those kids away from each other. And maybe the school won't close as fast as it will because there won't be so many people on top of each other. Things won't spread so fast. Colleges are told they have to be, everyone's mandated to get vaccinated. That gives people a little bit more reassurance, like, okay, I'm going to be safe. I don't even have that over there. I don't know who's vaccinated. I don't know what's going on. I have this mask on right now, and I'm not going to lie, I have to take it down. I'm high. That's what kids are doing in there. That's unprotecting my kids. And I'm a parent that I don't go to weddings. I don't go to the mall. I don't do these things. We didn't go away on summer vacation because I have a child that could get sick, and that's my, if I do something and I say, oh, I have to send you because I listen, and then God forbid something happen, I have to live with that for the whole rest of my life. And I am not willing to do that. I am not willing to do that. And if anybody knew my Isabella, which a lot of people do know here, they know that I'm not lying, that she struggles, and that I'm not willing to sacrifice my child's life, to send her to school, that I should have more of a right, an option for remote learning, and for my other children as well. And I feel like everybody else should. You have a person that's living in your household. I'm not saying grandparents or you have a parent, like, but if they're living in your household, like I have Isabella, my kids should have that same right to stay home and still have a remote education, just like everybody else. Thank you very much. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Kevin Roach?
Yep, here. I mean,
I'm sure I got it right.
excellent. Thank you for your time. I'm just here to voice my opinion. When it comes to the mask mandate, I'm against it, but I understand that we are a society, and because we're a society, we got to give each other the right to choose. And I would like that opportunity to be given a choice to send my child with a mask or without a mask. Now, that being said, we could debate about the mask effectiveness, or whether it does anything or not, but my concern is that this is the first year in the history, I think in the last 10 years, the first time that suicide rates outdo deaths by car accident. And my concern is what kind of damage are we doing to our children by constantly keeping them scared and freaking them out and putting a mask on and then not being able to see other kids' faces, their teachers' faces. My concern is the effect 2 or 3 or 4 years from now, 5 years from now. I understand COVID is real and they are dangerous, but my concern is that there's going to be children who will have this trauma, this damage done to their little minds, and they won't be able to cope as they get older. And to me, it's frightening because children are supposed to have a great experience, happiness. We want the best for them. Whether or not we're doing right by them today by protecting them with a mask or not, we won't know these effects until later on. And that's my concern. For children, from the CDC website, it states that children from 0 to 18 or 18 months to 18 have a 99.997% recovery rate. But a suicide, there's no recovery rate from suicide. And it's a lot darker and a lot more hurtful to deal with the suicide because there's no stopping. Because a lot of people, we talk to them, we see them, we care for them, but we don't know what's going on in their minds. We won't know how to help them. And then one day it happens, and what do? Do we understand the science? How much time do I have left?
Okay.
But yeah, so it's, for me, I understand the circumstances that we're in, but we also have to understand that as educators, you guys, you know what children need, what they grow up to be, their strives, their dreams. And my concern is that we maybe are stopping them or affecting them. Not all of them, but there's always a small percentage of children. We can't have that. And again, I'm going to end with this. I appreciate your time, and if we could maybe find a better way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Pucci, may I ask one question? When would we hear back from the board?
Yeah.
So the board will take in all these comments and then discuss as a board. I don't want to comment from me personally.
Right.
And then we shall get back to you at the next meeting.
At the next meeting?
Next meeting.
Okay.
Or this
So
meeting.
then my question to you is that the next meeting is how many weeks away? So my question is that I'm not sending my kids to school. So now, and I'm not homeschooling them.
That'll be a different issue.
Yeah, so who
The
do I-
board will consult with the administrative team, and then the administrative team, I'm sure, will be in communication.
Because now my kids aren't being educated.
I understand.
Yeah.
Next on the agenda is the president's report. Wanted to draw the attention to the board to the software I sent out to everybody, the super eval, the superintendent's evaluation. And any comments on that before the next meeting? I'd like to put it up on the board. It's going to be a contract. We're going to vote on that. Also on tonight's agenda, I think, is the NISBA election on here tonight. It is.
Yes.
So I think maybe a little quick discussion on that. John Redmond is the incumbent from Florida. I've had interactions with him. John Burns, I'm not familiar with. Is anybody else familiar with John Burns? Any comments on the upcoming vote here on the election? I'm comfortable with John Redmond. Okay. Yeah, I just want to draw that attention for later. I think everybody's seen the law that was passed down recently about open meetings that can be remote again. I would suggest to the board, I think we're probably all in agreement with this, to keep the meetings open so people can come and talk and express their concerns and joys, hopefully. And for as long as we can, until it's not safe. Everybody's okay with that? I think tonight we have a student rep. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, so I'm a junior. My name is Jacqueline. I'm elected as your student representative. Nice to meet you all.
Okay, welcome. If you have any questions along the way, let us know.
Thank you.
It's good to see our students here again. Next on the agenda is the legislative update. Sharon Johnson.
So we did have a meeting on the 1st. There's not too much to report though. The majority of the meeting was about the upcoming conference and just how it was going to be handled during COVID. So there was really not too much to update. John Redmond did participate. He did, speak about his upcoming election. So I have no information about John Burns. So I really don't have too much to discuss. It's really just about the conference coming up.
Okay. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the superintendent's report. Dr. Stokes.
Thank you, Mr. Pucci. There are 2 budget transfers for consideration of the board for approval tonight. One is, as we have in our 611 fund, shifted an employee from Scottsdale to the high school, would allow us just to appropriate that money to the proper code. The second is we, due to student demand, we're able to create a new business teacher position at the high school. That was done through consolidation of other positions. And Ms. Martin, I think, is very glad to have those offerings, and most of those offerings are almost at max capacity already, if I'm correct, Ms. Martin? So we are filling those 5 sections very, very quickly as well. Next item, I'd like to just invite Mr. Freeze up for a moment. Mr. Freeze completed a great amount of summer work throughout the end of June right through to August, and has put together a great presentation for the board. It's very brief, a pictorial, a video. I'll allow him to just give a brief introduction before we put it up on the board for the viewing of the Board of Education.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Coates. I just wanted to say thank you to the board last meeting for taking a tour of the facilities and allowing me to present some of the work that we did this summer, some of the work that we said that we were going to do as part of the budget presentation last year. I look forward to continuing working with the administrators, the board, and the community for future work that the district may require. With that said, thank you very much.
Cue it up now, Ms. Farrell, if that's okay. So as you can see, from as basic as striping new parking lots, to tubing and boilers, to health and safety items in a very short amount of time, the reason the department is able to complete a large amount of work throughout the summer. We're very grateful for your efforts towards maintenance of our facilities, simultaneously while prepping for the opening of school again. I know there was a significant amount of cleaning that had to go on to make sure that our buildings were ready and prepared as well. So thank you very much. Next item on, that I'd like to report to the board on is in regard to the Department of Health mandate that came down from the state early last week regarding vaccinations and or testing for our staff and for students. The Department of Health, in collaboration with the new governor, has now mandated that all school personnel must either begin to show proof of vaccination or submit to weekly testing. Again, I'm giving a summation here, and the finer details are in the legislation that came from the Department of Health. I've met with all of our bargaining units. Mr. Carter sat in on behalf of the central office employees as well. Beginning early next week, we will begin collecting vaccination data formally collecting vaccination data from our staff. Based on that, then we will transition into the testing protocol that will have to occur based on the findings of that data. Our staff has been collaborative. We want to work together with our staff. They've been very understanding that this is not the district choosing to do this, that this is coming from the state. And so far, our bargaining units and all of our staff have been very collaborative in the process, and I anticipate that moving forward as well. One last thing before I turn to our building principals for a short report. Also on the agenda tonight, while our athletic programs are up and running, our cross-country team is looking forward, hopefully, to a successful season. And as such, they are asking because it is an overnight trip for the approval of the Board of Education. As you know, as in the past, those resolutions allow for the Board of Education to rescind its approval of that trip up to and including actually the last day when that is supposed to be scheduled. So that is on for the board's consideration tonight. I'm going to ask our principals to come forward now, and I've asked them just to give a brief update on the reopening of school and how things went, some of the challenges that we've seen, and some of the good things that we've noticed during the first day. So I'll ask our board principals please to now come forward. Mr. Friedman, do you mind starting with our Scotchtown building?
Not at all. If I say good evening and thank you. First I'd like to start off by thanking all the teachers and the staff at Scotchtown for making the opening week such a success. Everyone has worked very hard and pitched in, to welcome back the students to Scotchtown. Some that have not been in the school for over a year and a half. So it's been all hands on deck, and the staff has done a tremendous job, and the students have been fantastic too. And it's been wonderful to walk up and down the hallways and see the classrooms, full classrooms alive with students and learning and activities going on. So some of the work that's been completed so far, as you know, with the help of buildings and grounds and custodial staff, we needed to transform our gymnasium into a second cafeteria to accommodate indoor eating. Classrooms have been spaced out 3 feet apart for learning. We've had new whiteboards installed in several of the classrooms, and the tents have been put up for academic and eating purposes up by the upper kindergarten hallway. And as you know, the parking lot has been repaved with line spacing and science spaces. Some of the plans that we have for September include parent orientation for our kindergarten, first and second grade classrooms. We also have AIS, ENL, special areas, orientations planned as well. And we're continuing to work with our Kindness Week in conjunction with the middle school and GIS, and Ms. Misik is going to be a big part of that, coordinating all those efforts with the school. So, we're looking forward to that. Something I'm really looking forward to is a supplemental literacy program that we're bringing into Scotchtown called Foundation. It focuses on phonics and fluency, which we truly hope will, bridge the gap for some of the academic deficiencies that may have been caused, due to COVID. And we're going to continue to work with our SEL. The teachers are going to be working together with the health program to incorporate a lot of the social emotional learning. And again, this MISIC is going to be, a huge part, with coordinating those efforts with, Untitled and the other support. And I think certainly one of the biggest challenges we faced was a dismissal. It certainly didn't go as well as we planned, but, with the help of, Karen Wells and Transportation, Central Administration, the teachers and staff, we really came together to look at it, refine it, and dismissal has been much better over the last few days. So it's been a truly group effort, certainly everyone involved and all the schools. So, and that's the report from Scotchtown. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Dr. Lumley?
Yes, good evening, everyone. So obviously, same sentiments. A lot of thanks goes out to a lot of people. Certainly the support that we've had to get things done at GIS from the board and central administration. A couple special shout outs. We had Kendra Parchinsky in our building doing a ton of work and going above and beyond to help us prep our computers, take our laptop cards that were all over the building and put them back together, organize them, clean them, get them ready to go. And she deserves a commendation on that just because of the extraordinary amount of work that took in organization. Beyond that, the teachers, the staff, everyone has come together to really put a lot of things in place to be able to open this year. Ed Long, our custodian, and with Jim Freeze, really did a lot to get the building up and ready, which we'll talk about a couple pieces. But I just want to say thank you to all of the people at GIS. There's no way we could do this by ourselves just as an office staff. So. In terms of the work that we did put in this summer, a lot of it obviously was coming through Jim Freeze. We had a lot of building upgrades. Even since the board walked through, we've since had half the flooring around the library refinished, and it looks completely different now. I mean, it looks huge. It's wonderful. So our gym, we did get the gym refinished, the floor, the ceilings. So we put in an extra effort not to utilize our gym this year for food. I know our custodians were having a little bit of a heart attack trying to keep us off of that brand new floor. So we spread all the way across the stage from the cafeteria across. We have plans to use other space should we need it, but we can currently fit everybody in the cafeteria. It was a lot of measuring. It was a lot of drawing maps on a computer and putting spreadsheets together. But we were able to kind of put that together, make that work. We did get our school dismissal manager up and running in the building. Just so anyone that hears, there are a few emails that are not connecting properly because technology is wonderful when it works. Sometimes it doesn't work, but we do have a solution. So if anyone is to get an email about that, please have them email our office staff, and we do have a solution for it. Our third grade orientation went very smoothly. Again, thank you for the tents that were outside. I just want to give another special thank you to our PTO board. They're all brand new this year. They put in a lot of effort to start putting some things together for the building, trying to make things special for the kids, which this year is certainly through SEL and what we're trying to put in place this year. We would like to see a lot more of that positive behavior and positive circumstances put in place. So we do a kindness week plan. Again, Nancy's kind of coordinating that for a lot of us. Just in general, the positives that we've seen so far, we've had students that have come in smiling, happy, because of the third grade orientation of the walkthroughs. Everyone knew they were going first day, which was absolutely phenomenal to see. I'll tell you, the first time since pre-pandemic, I got up onto the playground with kids laughing, playing, running around. It was honestly kind of surreal for a moment to just get up there and hear that amount of noise and that amount of kids in one space again. It was about time. So that was nice to be outside and see that. We did have some minor adjustments for our arrival after day one. It's already been 10 times better. Our officer has gone out of his way to help out. We've got some aides who have stepped up to help out with that as well. And we've been in the building pretty much by about 10 after now every day. And working with Mr. Friedman and Ms. Music and Central Office and Transportation, we are working on the dismissal still, and it is slowly creeping to a little bit of a better time as we go. And then just in general, as we move through September, we do have benchmark testing coming up. We do have a lot of our normal assessments, so the teachers know what's coming. We've given them all of their data from last year on this year's students, so they can really understand their students, starting just moving right into instruction at this point. Again, Kindness Week, our Youth Ending Hunger Club is finally back up and running fully. We emptied out the food pantry when the pandemic started. We gave everything away, so now we're in the process of rebuilding. And the PTO is working with us to try to get us in touch with another backpack program to help send food home to students that don't necessarily have what they need on the weekends. So that's kind of most of it in a nutshell, but there's plenty more good stuff going on without taking all night.
Thank you, Dr. Russell. Ms. Carmen?
So middle school is up and running, and it's exciting to be there. If anyone ever wants to come to the middle school and just experience it, feel free. The kids are, you can see them smiling with their eyes. I think the best part was watching them come in on day one, even though it was raining. We had signs outside welcoming them back, a balloon arch just to kind of make them feel comfortable and welcomed, and just to see the eyes. Even if you couldn't see the full smile, you knew they were smiling with their eyes. It's been wonderful, just like my colleagues have said, to be able to go into a classroom and see them filled. The teachers, very happy. Everyone's happy to be in full 5 days a week. Big thank you to the Board of Education. Thank you to Central Office, my colleagues as well. CJ Hooker wouldn't have been able to get up and running without everyone's support. The staff, Mr. Freeze, everyone has been wonderful. Karen Wells with the bus. If I forgot anyone, I apologize. There's so many thank yous to give. Our custodians have been wonderful. The building is pristine. Just a couple items from Bob and myself. We sat on the school planning committee in preparation to reopen, participated in all the meetings. We worked with the custodial staff and maintenance to prep the building and properly social distance adjust each classroom and lunchrooms. We did repurpose one gym, the old gym, as a lunchroom as well. And we're going every other day for the groups to be able to go out and use the tents in good weather. So thank you for that. We have prepped the staff for utilizing outdoor spaces and the protocols for the outdoor classes to be held. The building tours for new students with the guidance counselors were held, as well as many that were made by appointments. We had the ice cream social on August 25th, which was a huge success on the CJ Hooker football field. First week of school, we welcomed them back, as I told you, with the signs and the balloon arch. We held welcome back meetings for all grades, code of conduct meetings, building tours for all grades at staggered times, and also held plan drills. We coordinated with the food service and custodial staff for lunches to run efficiently and assuring that all students receive lunch in a timely manner. September 9th, which is tomorrow, is our 6th grade parent orientation from 6 to 8. And at 5:30 also we will have our AAS presentation. On September 11th, one of our teachers who served in the military will do a special announcement for the 20th anniversary of 9/11, followed by a moment of silence for all that we lost in the tragedy. On September 14th, our 7th and 8th grade parent orientation will also be from 6 to 8 with a 5:30 start for the AIS presentation. Our Kindness Week will be run by our social worker on the week of September 20th. Myself and Bob also will work on that. September 24th from 5 to 7 is our 6th grade rec night, which we're excited for. It'll be our first rec night that we, fingers crossed, will be outside. And the week of September 27th will be our first CJ Hooker Spirit Week. And as I said, most of the positive results have just been being able to be back 5 days a week, and no current issues have been brought to administration at this time. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carmen. Ms. Martin, round us up.
Similar to what you've heard, huge thank yous just to all the teamwork that took place in preparation from all the offices, certainly our buildings and grounds, transportation, technology. We were able to work with Jim Starrett where the Wi-Fi has been increased even for capacity outside the building. So when students are utilizing the tents and the benches set up for their outdoor lunch, they can even work on assignments or catch up on work if they'd like to at that point. We had a great opening with our freshman barbecue starting in August, and the turnout was phenomenal. It was great to see the students be able to take the tours again. We had over 30 teachers there to support the students. On our opening day, we had our teachers in their red and blue shirts so that they were easily identifiable for the students who might not have been in the building either last year or a new freshman coming in, to help them get oriented and find their way throughout the day. That was really a success. We have 4 outdoor classrooms currently functioning, and teachers reserve them on a Google Calendar. There's different setups for either a Socratic seminar, whether they're stations, whether they're small discussion groups, or a more traditional setting. So teachers have a selection of what the purpose of the space will be to match their needs. We have a great start to our sports programs that are continuing daily. I've already been able to be at some of the events, which are great, and we're looking forward to the continuance of our successes on the athletic fields. We've also had our student breakfast has been served throughout 3 periods so that students are able to utilize the free breakfast and lunch this year and really make sure they're getting all of what they need to fuel them to keep them going. We had 3 students who were recognized by the College Board National Hispanic Program based on their remarkable achievements on the AP exams. That would be Daniela Scanlon, Mia Colangelo, and Victoria Arroyo. So we received notification of that and commended those students on such a remarkable achievement. And we're looking forward to, on September 15th, we have some students who have been acknowledged as National Merit Scholars, and those announcements will come out at that time. So I'm really excited for that. We are looking forward as well to our Spirit Week and having as many of the events as possible, culminating with the football game and the homecoming dance being coordinated with parents. We are running all of our clubs again and looking forward to more events for seniors. It started with the Senior Sunrise Breakfast. They'll be, with the help of Jumphreys and Bones and Browns, resurfacing the parking spaces that have been painted and allowing our seniors for this year, 2022, to paint their own spots to be able to have those each day. We were able to tweak the arrival and dismissal and better utilize our crosswalks and points of access for our students to keep them safe when they're coming into the building. And overall, just seeing, again, as everyone has said, the joy on both the students and teachers' faces and the enthusiasm and energy throughout the building has been really exciting this year.
Any questions for our principal?
Can I jump in with one thing I forgot that's really important? Mrs. Kropp has done a tremendous amount of work for us around Project Lead the Way. We were just notified that she was awarded the Project Lead the Way Teacher of the Year as well, and we should be getting some information about that shortly.
Fantastic, thanks.
Any questions?
Thank you so much, principals, greatly appreciate it. Good, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Coates. No business report tonight. Let's go to the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum, Instruction, Personnel, and Technology report, Mr. Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Pucci. Good evening, everyone. First on the list this evening will be revisiting the New Visions curriculum proposal for Goshen High School. So if you recall, last board meeting we had briefly discussed the New Visions curriculum. Also sent out comprehensive documentation for you to take a look at. Jennifer Martin and her ELA team at the high school properly vetted this along with myself thereafter, and firmly believe that this is a great curriculum to bring to Goshen High School. It will be utilized grades 9 through 12. If you were able to take a look, there is quite a comprehensive textbook list that goes with this as well. A large majority of the textbooks have already been approved by the school board for use, and just so happen to be in the anthologies that will be utilized with this curriculum. In addition, if you recall, this is fully aligned with Next Gen ELA standards. Also promotes critical thinking, collaboration, and self-direction, which is something that, those are the foundational skills that we encourage throughout the district. There are course maps, scope and sequences provided, professional learning communities and professional development opportunities available as well. And most importantly, all materials are available for download in bulk if necessary, and they are free of charge if we subscribe to New Vision's ELA curriculum. At this point in time, I would encourage the board to highly consider this for adoption for Goshen High School ELA curriculum 9 through 12. Second on the list, Dr. Coates and I have been revisiting and investigating the New York COVID leave law. So just to kind of refresh your memory, in March of 2020, the New York State COVID leave law was made available to employees in the public sector, of course private and public, but in public schools, 14 days were made available to be used in case of a mandatory isolation due to a positive test, and also with a mandatory quarantine order. We are also further investigating, because we did receive notification in the form of a memo of a potential second pool of 14 days with a positive and a potential third pool. However, we do need to further investigate that. So of course that will be in collaboration with our legal team. As soon as we secure the proper information, we will share that accordingly.
If I may just add to that, those 14 days that become available to employees do not get deducted from their own accumulated sick leave. So just to be clear to the board, this is an unfunded mandate that we are now paying through the state of New York and additional leave time. This is outside of the federal leave that was granted last year during COVID. So we can continue to track those days. We will do so in our attendance management system. Hopefully those numbers will be low, but I just wanted the board to be aware that this is still in the books for New York State, and it appears that there could potentially be additional benefits if, unfortunately, someone was to become positive a second time, a third time.
And then finally, I just want to make mention, one of the things that we focus on as per Ed Law 2D is sending out notification and acquiring proper clearances with all of the vendors. So I just wanted to thank Mr. Rediger, who's in attendance this evening, and also Dr. Voloshin for their work in disseminating the information and then acquiring the information and logging it into our tracking system. We have over 200 vendors that we work with. It's a large task, and it's a lot of work, takes a lot of time. I just wanted to say thank you to those that are involved with me in that task. And that's it for me at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Any questions? Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Need a motion? Allison? Mike? Be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the consent agenda as presented. All in favor? Opposed? Old business, Mr. Carter just gave us an update on the New Vision ELA curriculum at the Goshen High School. So need a motion for 12.1. Shannon? Jeremy? Be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education adopts the New Visions English curriculum at Goshen High School. All in favor? Opposed? Move on to new business, 13.1. I need a motion to approve the minutes for the August 30th, 2021 meeting. Shannon? Allison? Be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the minutes for the August 30th, 2021 regular board meeting. All in favor? 13.2, the budgetary transfers, Dr. Coates. Any motion? Billy? Mike? Be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the following budgetary transfers. Shift of 611 grant funds from SAS to GHS. Employee shift in buildings on 8/31/21 in the amount of $62,075. And funding for a new business teacher position from abolished positions 8/31/21, $84,400. All in favor? Opposed? .3 is the vote for the NISBA Area 9 Director. We will vote for one. Any motion?
Make a motion that we nominate John Redmond.
John Redmond. I think somebody seconded it. Allison second. Jeremy on the Allison. The following school board members have been nominated by at least 5-member school boards to be candidates for a 2-year term on the board of directors of the New York State School Board Association effective January 1st, 2022. Each member school board acting at a regular or special meeting is entitled to cast one vote for one candidate. We will vote for John Redmond. Yeah. I'll do one by one. Or?
No, just do a whole vote.
All right, all in favor? Opposed? So we had that nomination. My bad. All right. 13.4, the overnight trip for the cross country to the New York State Championship. Any motion? Shannon? Jeremy? Be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the overnight trip for the cross country team to travel to Binghamton, New York from November 12th through 13th, 2021 to participate in the NYSPHSAA State Cross Country Championship. Be it further resolved that the board reserves the right to cancel or reschedule any school-sponsored trip or activity in the event of any emergency condition outside of the control of the school district in its sole discretion. All in favor? Opposed? 13.5, a motion to approve cooperative services transportation contract with Orange Ulster Boat Suits. Shannon? Bill. Be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, Board of Education awards a regular school year contract for 2021-22 special education transportation, effective September 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022, for transportation of Goshen Central School District special education students to Cherry Lane Elementary School, Chester Academy, and Arden Hill, Green Chimneys Clear Pool School, Middle Hope Elementary, Rockland Bose's Hilltop Elementary, Rockland Bose's Riverview High School, Suffern High School and Middle School number 2, and C-Tech Midday Shuttle contracted busing to Orange Ulster Bose's in accordance with Orange Ulster Bose's bid with Quality Bus Services, LLC, in the amount of $288,690.15. Be further resolved, the Board of Education authorizes the Board of Education President and Superintendent to execute a transportation contract with Orange Ulster Bose's. All in favor? Opposed? 13.6, set substitute reimbursement rates for the 21-22 school year. Jeremy, Shannon. Be resolved that the Board of Education hereby establishes the following substitute reimbursement rates for 2021-22 school year. Substitute teacher certified, $110 per day. Substitute non-certified, substitute teacher non-certified, $100 per day. Substitute administrator, $350 per day. Substitute nurse, $25 an hour. Substitute clerical, retired, $17.50 per hour. Substitute food service helper, $12.50 per hour. Substitute custodial worker, $12.50 per hour. Substitute custodial worker retired, $17.50 per hour. Substitute bus monitor, $12.50 per hour. Substitute teacher aide, $12.50 per hour. All in favor? Next on the agenda is privilege.
I would like to say something else, if I may. Mr. Pucci, you answered in stating that it would take until next board meeting for our family to have an answer. My husband and I are extremely upset over this, as what has happened, with today with the bus transportation. If I could please ask for consideration on a sooner answer on that. My husband generally comes and speaks. He was too livid to even come here today. That is why my presence is here.
I understand. We will work with the administrative team as quickly as possible.
I would appreciate that,
That's
sir.
all the issues.
I would appreciate that, sir.
I just
Thank
don't know,
you.
like, I just feel bad for my kids, like, they're home and they aren't even getting educated right now until something happens, so, like, they wanna go to school, it's just this year, It's
Okay.
a pandemic, it's not that I don't want this,
I have just one question. In regards to this new vision for a public school, am I going to be fighting that as well? Because I really don't, I'm not a big fan of like Marxism, for example. And the fact that people who developed this program are playing that social justice card with their postings here and what they're saying about how police brutality is something that is endemic, I'm going to have a problem with that. I'm against that because that's all a fallacy. So if this thing has, how you say, critical race applied practices in it, this is something I'm not going to be behind, and I will fight this. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Okay. Board member issues. Committee reports, meeting we're in the process of setting up, right? Yep. And need a motion for executive session. Allison? Mike? Be resolved, the Board of Education will enter into executive session with the intent not to reconvene the business portion of the meeting for discussion related to the review of the employment history of a particular person. All in favor? Against?